and watch Fanstream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Fanstream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into another edition of the JP Peterson Show here on this, we're going to call it a little College Football Thursday, as we got a couple of great guests coming on today to talk Florida State and Florida football. Pat Burnham from the Osceola Rivals Network will join us at 11 o'clock live from Jacksonville, where the Noles are practicing. They've been doing that for a couple of years, heading over to Jacksonville to do a couple of practices. They've done it at IMG as well. I don't know if they're doing that again this year. I'll have to check the schedule. So we'll talk to Pat Burnham at 11 o'clock. Also, we will talk to Scott Carter at 10:30 from FloridaGators.com and our Jeeves Law Group Gator Report. So we'll catch up with Scott and see what's going on in fall camp there with Billy Napier and the Gators. And also, good morning to you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. I'm forgetting our NIL guest name, Josh
Norris. Jake Norris.
So Jake Norris is a NIL agent, and he is actually based here in St. Petersburg. Young guy. He's got some big name guys, Deshaun Ward and some others. And I just thought we'd have an interesting conversation with him to find out kind of the inside scoop on what's going on in NIL from a NIL agent perspective. So he'll join us at 11:45. So we got lots of college football talk and a little bonus guest here, Gary Koch, the brand new recipient of the 2023 Payne Stewart Award given to someone in golf that has been a giant in the business and has done incredible philanthropy, of which Gary Koch has done here in our local area and continues to do with the First Tee of Tampa Bay, making a huge difference for so many young golfers here and kids that never even dreamed of playing golf. So we'll have a great conversation with Gary Koch as we get ready for the FedEx Cup playoffs as well, which begin today in Memphis at the St. Jude Classic. So lots to get to. Good morning to you, Nick Geddes. How are you?
I am doing much better now that I have safely landed into our RHS studios, because I'm not sure if you know, but today was the first day of school over here in Hillsborough County. And so, my wife being a teacher and everything, I was up early with her and I was timing it. I was like, I'm going to leave extra early, give myself time. Oh boy, I'm glad that I did, because it was a cluster, what, out there from the second I pulled out of my neighborhood this morning, and people forgot how to drive. People have forgotten how to drive and navigate the rigors of the early morning school traffic, and it was very frustrating. But
they never knew.
I'm safely landed here, though.
Well, thank God for that. Thank God for that. Good to have you back and safe in the RHS TV studios here. All right, let's get it rolling today. The Rays, this is what we're going to get on our bullpen days. It started bad. Although, on bullpen days, if we give up 6, I'm almost okay with that, because, I think they should know on bullpen days, you got to score 6 or 7 to win the game. I'd like to keep it to 5. 5 would be nice. 4.5 average would be okay. But this is what we're going to get the rest of the season, unfortunately, and this is also going to tax the bullpen. So the bullpen will be even more worn out by the time we get to October. This is what happens when you lose, 4 starting pitchers to injuries, 3 of them to Tommy John injuries. It's bad, but I guess the good news is Wander Franco, for the second time in 2 weeks, hit his career-long homer. A couple weeks ago was the 441. Last night, 448. That was a bomb that he hit, but unfortunately, it's only worth 1 run. It was a solo shot.
Well, that's kind of what the Rays did last night. I mean, you look at the box score, they got 9 hits.
Yeah.
And you would think there would have been more, but they really didn't threaten. I think the entire game, they only got 3 runners in scoring position all night on 9 hits. I mean, that's not great. So it just never felt like they were really threatening in that game. St. Louis was teeing off early. I mean, Jalen Beeks had a great 1-2-3 to get out of the first inning, and I was like, oh, who's this Jalen Beeks? I haven't seen him go 1-2-3.
Yes, we had our commenters predicting yesterday that it wouldn't be such, that he was the worst pitcher in the world. Yeah.
Right, and then he got hit a little bit in the second, and then, I mean, listen, they brought in Kevin Kelly after, who's been just straight nails for this team all season long, had that 20-inning scoreless streak that was going on for a while until Texas broke it up. a couple weeks back. He's kind of the guy you want to see out of the bullpen. I think it was the right decision by Kevin Cash, and just unfortunately, Kevin Kelly wasn't able to execute. He's very young, obviously, as we know. I just hope he's not hitting a little bit of a wall here. He got hit pretty hard against Houston about a week ago as well. So it just like you said, when you have these bullpen days, more stress on the bullpen arms and things like that, it's almost bound to happen. And the Rays not being able to get guys in scoring position, you get what you got last night, and that's a 6-4 loss.
Well, and to be expected on some of these days, and I think this is just where the Rays are right now. And Savali's going to have to be really, really good now. Glasnow, I believe, is set to start on Saturday.
Hold on, we're optimistic.
We're optimistic.
Okay. Yeah. Got to tag that in there.
All right, you want to play a couple highlights from the Rays last night?
Yeah, and since you mentioned the Wander bomb, we'll go in reverse order a little bit, but let's go with the
sound of this one. Yeah.
Let's go to the Wander one first, which I believe is his 16th home run of the season for Wander Franco. So he's inching closer to the 20 home run.
Rather see 30 personally.
Wander shoots one high and deep to right center. That baby's going to get out of here. Gone. Home run by Wander Franco. That's number 16.
Number 16 into a where there was zero fans sitting last night. And right there into the array of blue seats.
Yeah, it was a pretty good crowd last night, wasn't it? Though a lot of Cardinals fans to be expected.
It was like 11,000, I think.
Not bad for a Wednesday night. Not bad for a Wednesday night.
Day before school. I kid. I have to kid because you tagged me in that thing this morning about what happened at Fenway, and I hadn't responded to it yet. I figured I'd just make my comments known on the show. Yeah, if you didn't see it, folks, something that's never happened in the history of Fenway Park.
Which I'm surprised at. Yeah,
I'm surprised, but somebody hit a ball to left field. I forgot who it was, and somehow it hit that light. Those little what are those strobe light kind of deals they have going on there?
Yeah,
on Fenway Park wall, and got stuck in there.
Well, they have the old time scoreboard there, and they're lit up, and it went into like one of the little red lights that do the outs. Butchered by the left fielder, by the way.
Right, but damn right though, as you said, that would never happen at the Trop.
No, just pound off 6 catwalks, and
no goofiness happen.
It would bound off 6 catwalks, hit a speaker, and then down on the concrete, hard, crappy turf. That's all would happen at America's ballpark, and then maybe ricochet into the $20 a pop Mr. Softy machine. But I don't know. I digress. It's still America's ballpark, according to you. So, anyways, we're moving on. How about Series Bomb? He's got 23 now.
23 home runs. He hit 2 home runs yesterday.
You saw that coming.
I surely did not. I said that this has a chance to be one of the better pickups the Rays have honestly ever had when you think about what they gave up. Really limited. But here was the first home run that he hit last night off of Dakota Hudson.
High shot deep into center field. Carlton will go to the wall. That baby is gone. Home run, Jose Siri.
And that one went a long way to center field. Like, these are not just like barely going over the wall. He gets into them, and boy does he pimp them as well, which I love. Have some swag.
It's all good. It's all good. No, that's a positive in baseball. We're having a little bit more fun now, and hopefully the pitchers don't get their panties in a wad.
Well, that's the thing. Dakota Hudson clearly did get his panties in the wad. His next at bat, did you see it? He brushed him back with a fastball high and in.
Yeah,
on the first pitch of the next at bat, of course.
I just don't get that, man. I mean, you throw a meaty ass meatball up there, it's all your fault, and now you're gonna, endanger someone's life by throwing at their head. I would have thrown him out right there. I don't know. Of course, they don't have the balls to do it. Just toss him out right there. That's the way you stop this crap. That's the way you stop. You don't do the warning things, which are just absolutely counterproductive. That rewards the team that does it first. Just get him out. You know exactly what he's doing. You knew it. I knew it. Everybody knew it. Then just throw him out. Just throw him out. And it slipped. Oh, well, sorry. Looked like you were throwing at his head. Bye-bye. sorry.
I don't know.
Time for that.
But I saw it coming though. But never fear, Jose him in that at bat because 2 pitches later he hits his 23rd home run to retake the Rays' lead from Isaac Paredes, and here it was.
And a long one back into deep left. Burleson along the wall, and that one is out of here. Home run for Jose Siri. His second of the night.
Man, you just got to love the way this kid has started to play this year, and you hope he can continue, and it's just not a hot streak. Love his flair. Anybody miss Kevin Kiermaier? Anybody missing KK and $12 million salary?
Who, by the way, is on the injured list again. Go figure. Get well,
Yeah.
KK.
No,
I was definitely going to bring that up though because I'm like, if we finally have a guy, he's only hitting like 218, right? He's not like it's not like he's like Barry Bonds at the plate or anything. But the fact that he's going to give you at least 25 home runs this year with that elite defense, everything else he does, I mean, biggest upgrade ever as far as I'm concerned, especially from the money standpoint. You can't even really compare it.
Yeah. How'd the Cardinals score their runs last night? Who got the big hit for them?
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
You mentioned it when he goes.
I knew you were gonna do this. I saw him, and it was a great piece of hitting and whatnot. He went 1 for 5, 2 Ks. Yandy would never.
And no, Yandy went 0 for 5 last night. You're right. He would never. And 2 RBIs, two big RBIs for the RBI machine known as Paul Goldschmidt. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. Imagine having Yandy and him in that lineup. Woo! Wow, that'd be like a real Major League Baseball team spending money.
Imagine having
a real team.
Imagine having the AL batting champ hitting leadoff for you every single night.
Oh, it's great. You could have that, and then Goldschmidt in the 3-hole. You could have both. They have this new thing. It's called the designated hitter. Have you heard of this? Yeah, you can designate one of your players to hit and not play the field. Oh,
yeah.
Give yourself more versatility out there, and thicken up your lineup. Yeah, who would want that?
Hey, I got Josh Lowe.
Let's get excited about winning on a budget. Let's get excited about winning on a budget. Oh, our owner's going to make so much money this year. Oh, I'm so happy. It's so exciting being a Rays fan where we never actually spend money on big hitters. Woo! Yeah, we're going to go do it in the offseason, man. We're going to go get one in the offseason. We're in on Freddie Freeman. We're in on Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, we're in on Juan Soto. Yeah. No, you're not. You never are. You never are.
Is there a day you don't think about the Rays payroll? I'm curious.
No, because you guys are all getting shafted. As Rays fans, we're all getting shafted.
Does this enter your mind?
You're always getting shafted by a greedy owner. Well, I just we give them their flowers when they win.
I'm just going to point out the Rays DH last night was Josh Lowe, who's hitting the same batting average as Paul Goldschmidt, the same OPS as Paul Goldschmidt. So, you know what?
Yeah. How many MVPs has he won? How many All-Star games?
So caught up in the past. What about the right now, the current?
Yeah, bring me a nice veteran hitter in the middle of that lineup that's an RBI machine that can, maybe teach some of these younger players how to be professionals. That'd be awesome. That'd be really, really awesome. But we move on. Let's talk about, or should we do Cash? You want to hear Cash post last night? Should we hear this?
We'll go to Cash real quick.
All right, let's hear Cash from last night.
Played Kevin Cash in a while, so
yeah, we have.
Let's hear what the manager had to say.
I miss Kevin Cash.
All right, I guess we'll start with maybe Kevin Kelly there. He's been so good for you guys this season.
Oh, she goes negative early.
Top of the third and top of the fourth. What were you seeing from him?
Yeah, a little bit. Look, KK, he has been really, really good for us, and just so impressed how far he's come since getting him in his start to the big league career, his big league career. Today, it didn't come easy. You got to credit the Cardinals for sure for putting together some good at-bats. It felt like there were some long at-bats. Some veteran hitters took it to 3-2 on him, and when he got in those 3-2 situations, they weren't looking to do too much. They were looking to put balls in play and kind of shoot balls and find holes, and they did that. And, the lefties, a couple of walks that came across, and then after the walks, some really big at-bats.
And maybe a couple of defensive things at the top of the third. The Arenado RBI went kind of through Isak and Wander. What did you see there, maybe?
Neither one of them had no chance at looking. I went back and looked at it. The reaction, they can dive twice. They're not catching that ball. It split them right down the middle.
Come back to Kevin. Was he maybe in a way like too much over the plate there? I mean, he usually has so much movement with that.
Yeah, I mean, well, 3-2, you got to throw a strike.
Yeah.
So when you get in those counts, we're asking for a strike. It looked like, the guys he got ahead of, he just threw a couple pitches that were well out of the zone that, brought them back into the count. Then he had to throw some strikes. The pitch to Goldschmidt and Arenado, I mean, we're talking about two Hall of Famers. They're going to make adjustments, and they did.
Then Jose Siri with
big day for big day for Jose. Both big home runs. I mean, I felt like the entire time right there to the end, we had a chance to win the game. If we could just get some guys on base. I felt like our sequencing of hits just didn't align today. I mean, we got hits late with nobody on. We got some guys on base. That's when they made their bigger pitches against us.
Gotcha. And then you've done this bullpen day many, many times, but it seems like it kind of illustrates how you need almost everybody to be on. You have one guy who's maybe not quite on, and that separation.
Yeah, an offense can overcome that, but yeah, we don't go through a bullpen day assuming that we're just going to shut people down.
Right.
So bullpen day or starter, who I hope they're on. I want them both to be on.
Right. Well, you need 6 guys to be on. I think that was all.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who predicted Siri would have 23 homers before August 10th.
I am. Yes, I am. Look, I'm so impressed with what the season he's put together. He's really made the most of making himself a better hitter. We saw a guy last year that I think was trying to find his way a little bit, and the balance between showing power and the hitability and not expanding. There's some reward and there's some cost with his approach. He's going to expand. We know that. But when he gets a ball and connects with it, he can hit it a long way. And he's done that 23 times like I predicted.
Had a nice night for Wander, too. I think it was the longest home run of his career.
Yeah, Wander's really doing it. Both sides of the ball. It's when he's right, and not to put added pressure on Wander, but when he's right, the shape, the feel of our team is pretty special.
Did you expect them to bring the left-hander in for against Franco? They had a lefty warming up.
No, I did not.
You didn't think so?
No.
I need to know. I need to know this. I got to find out. Who's the OG that's been asking questions lately? And dare he ask questions about managerial decisions, by the way? And I didn't even know, so Franco was up and there was a lefty warming. Did you think they were going to bring the lefty in? He's like, no, why would they bring, obviously the Wander switch hitter, but I'm like, I'm trying to figure out who this guy is. Number one, I love him already, by the way. I just love that voice. Hey, do you think the lefty against Franco?
Yeah, was it Franco? He's called him Franco, right?
Yeah, Franco. Franco selling hot dogs out of him. Franco with a K. Franco.
Is he like the Rays media version of Ira Kaufman? I
think he is. I need to. Is somebody in the chat or somebody out there who is this guy? He's already my favorite. I find out who he is. Asking the questions because he's always got a question right at the end there. It's something to do with a managerial decision. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go there.
Peppering the manager, man. Peppering him.
Cash loves it. He loves it. He never gets upset about guys asking about managerial decisions. He never takes that personal. That's part of the. By the way, that's part of the game. You're not insulting. Anytime you ask a question about a managerial decision and a coaching decision, which by the way I think are some of the best questions to ask that never get asked. You have the player or the coach in front of you. What can you ask them where they will have a unique perspective? Not how'd you feel about, what are your emotions? Those are not terrible questions depending on the situation. But I would like is okay, 3-1 there. This guy knows that you haven't been hitting the breaking balls well, and he comes at you with a fastball again or whatever, whatever the case may be. Go inside the mind of the athlete or the coach and ask why they made that particular decision, because they're the only one that can really tell you, and that gives you kind of some insight to the strategy of the game. To me, that's always where this is what these interviews were meant to be. You go into the locker room, you want to find out what these guys were thinking or why they made the choices that they made at particular times. And sometimes I think that's kind of lost in all the emotions and what you have for breakfast, and how'd you do with your hair today? Like, we are going with the rat tail or dreads.
So
how does that play into it?
Oh, hold up. I take it that you're not a fan of, like, when we have like these media days in college football and we have the questions like, did you take your daughter to see Barbie or Oppenheimer yet? What do you? Are you one of those people that looks down on the people that try to like put some levity into those things?
No, I mean, it's all time and play. I'm not saying those questions. I like those questions as well. Those are fun. Those are fun to have. But I think we now have gone to those questions instead of questions about the actual strategy of the game. That's I love those questions. I don't want to say they're not fun, and they have their places in press conferences, preseason media days. Those are great times for those questions, right? Because we're not talking about games.
Yeah, and I even go back to, like, and this is so recent, I think it was yesterday's Bulls press conference, which we might play a little later, but there was like a question he was asked about, like, non-topical relating to like this Bucs team, and he was like, what do you remember about your first preseason game that you ever played in, like the first time, and your like how you were all that kind of stuff. And like that question, ironically, to me, got the best answer out of Todd Bowles. And you actually saw him crack a smile a little bit, and he talked a little longer, which he doesn't do. So like in the right setting, like you will get a really good answer if you ask a little something maybe not as topical, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have problems with those questions at all. I mean, right after a game, instead of asking, what were you thinking on 3-1 pitch?
This reminds me of like what was it, 2 years ago when it was right before January, and they had this one reporter from like Variety or something who somehow was in a Patriots press conference after a game that they lost. And remember, she asked Bill Belichick, I'm doing a story on New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Bill, what's your New Year's resolution?
That's exactly my point.
After a Patriots loss.
And before we get it twisted, Tricia does a fantastic job. She does a great job asking questions. I think she's fantastic. And so before anybody, and one reason I said, she went negative early, I was like, that was interesting, because normally that's not the MO, and it rarely should it be. But that she went right to the key part of the question. That's the first time KK has really given up the booty. I mean, so
the new KK.
Yeah,
I like Kevin Kelly being KK more than the other guy.
Yeah, it costs a lot less. So woo!
I'm going all in on Mr. Kiermaier this morning. I'm on a mood about him.
Guy's down and out. He's hurt. And you're just piling dirt on him, man. That's just
clearly I am. Listen, he's on the rival now, so I can pound as much dirt on him as I want to.
Yeah. All right, let's have, since it's college football day here, and we're going to be talking some college football here with Scott Carter. I love the way Matt Baker does this from the Times. He gives us, when he puts his top 25 out. I was once a top 25 voter, by the way. 1 year I did that. Back in the day when we had to phone it in. Oh,
my gosh. That's the epitome of the back in my day.
Yeah, we had to phone it in by 9 a.m. Sunday morning to the AP.
That's as bad as you telling me last year that you had to read, when you played fantasy football when you were younger, you had to read the scores in the paper the next morning or some crap like that.
Yes. You didn't know who won till like Tuesday. Then it's, you couldn't even send out an email. I don't even remember how we freaking did it, to be honest with you.
Nowadays, when the app crashes or something on like week 1 of the regular season, I'm like going insane. I'm like, fix this crap right now. Right now.
My app didn't work. How am I supposed to live? Oh my God. What am I going to? I can't get fantasy football results for I got to wait 30 seconds. Oh my God. I'm changing apps. This is ridiculous. Unacceptable.
It's true. I'm writing a strongly worded letter.
By the way, little insight here, and only I read these stupid articles. Last night, Bob Iger, I guess yesterday or last night, Bob Iger from Disney, the parent company of ESPN, basically on a call with shareholders was kind of mapping out what they're going to do. And first of all, ESPN Bet is coming. ESPN Bet is coming.
Yeah, the whole Barstool sell.
Yeah, and they're working with Barstool.
Well, no, they're not working with Barstool. Barstool. This was Penn Dave Portnoy bought Barstool back from Penn for like $1.
Right.
And then I think part of the thing is that the sports book that they had made is now being transferred over to ESPN to become ESPN Bet. And Barstool's not, and under the deal, they cannot make a sports book, apparently.
Right. But anyway, Portnoy is going to make about half a $500 million on this transaction when it's all said and done. And I just find it quite ironic that not only did Portnoy destroy ESPN's business on so many levels by giving people what they wanted, by the way, that ESPN stopped doing. I've talked about this many times. Ignore your core customers, ignore your core values, and you will go broke. And that's exactly what ESPN has done now. And they ignored him, and thus leading to the birth of Barstool and so many other great outlets for sports news. And now he's going to make another $500 million off of them, which I think is just absolutely incredibly ironic and wonderful. And now ESPN is going to go to an all subscription model. So the days of charging every cable subscriber $6 a pop, making hundreds of millions of dollars and wasting it on whatever the hell they're doing. Now they've had to clean house on so much of their great talent that they've let go. And now they're going to go all subscription. You tell me, Mr. Millennial, how many of your friends are going to pay $19.99 a month for ESPN? And how many of them, first of all, are going to figure out how to rip it off? They won't pay.
I can already tell you right now, I know at least a few that would know how to rip it off, number one.
Yeah, my son.
Number two, I mean, number two, what do we pay right now? Like, it's like $6.99 for ESPN Plus, I think, that I pay. Is it going up gradually?
Yeah.
$19.99 a month. I mean, listen, there's going to become an event that I'm going to have to want to watch, and eventually, like, you'll cave. It's just kind of the way it goes. I don't know how many people are going to rest on their laurels. Like, I'm not paying it no matter what's on TV. Think of how many big events, sporting events, live events are on ESPN. You're going to end up having to pay.
There's a lot. I don't know. I don't know about that. I think people will be able to find ways around it.
Yeah, you can find ways around it that we don't need to really get into on this show, but I think you can just infer. But at least that's the way I feel. But no,
exactly.
Little things like if the Bucs are playing on Monday Night Football, are you going to want to be fiddling around trying to find a way to crack the system, or do you just want the convenience of being all right? Let me just go to my ESPN app. Let me turn it on.
We'll see. I just think the majority of people. I think they're going to lose a ton of viewers. They've already lost a crap ton of viewers, and their core audience is already squared off them. I think so many people are just so disgusted with ESPN. Look, they made a political choice a few years ago. They've stuck to it. They do not offer any other outside opinions whatsoever. The people that will actually pay for it, have the money to pay for it, probably won't pay for it. The people that can rip it off will probably rip it off. I think it's going to be a disaster. They're already a financial disaster, and it's going to get even worse for ESPN. So,
I'm excited to see what McAfee's coming next month on the network. Like I'm excited for that. I want to see how that goes. I want to see how filtered he's going to be. I'm curious on that one and how much they're going to see an uptick in viewership at that time.
When's his show going to be on?
I thought it was, but they said this fall, and so I believe it was.
What time slot though?
What was it? The noon to 2?
Noon to 2?
I believe so. Yeah, because I think they moved SportsCenter at noon somewhere else, so I believe he's going right in at noon to 2.
Okay, interesting. Oh, we'll see. I'm very interested to see how filtered he's going to be, and how different the show's going to look, and just because he can't drop F-bombs.
No, but I think he's going to end up becoming the number one show on probably sports media. I think that's fair because First Take's always going to be a big player, I guess. But
if he's not forced to filter all of his stuff, and then if people see him as a sellout, he's not going to. His core audience is going to go away.
Yeah, I guess if you wanted him to be not filtered completely, you could have just put him on ESPN Plus. Yeah. That's the only way you could get around that. But they really need him on ESPN, clearly.
His allure was the anti-establishment. That's his allure. And now he's going to the ultra establishment. And they're going to make him conform. Don't think they won't. And I'm going to be really interested to see what his core fan base says. I think they're going to say this is trash. This is not what we used to see. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a tremendous. I agree with you. I can't wait to see what's up with that. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com is going to join us. We're going to talk some Florida football. They've got an absolute murderer's row scheduled this year, and a lot of young players. Going to be an interesting year for Billy Napier. The Gator Report, brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group, is up next. That personal attention you so richly deserve from a law firm that can go against the big boys, but will call you back when you call them. How about that? That's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back with the Gator Report right after this. Stay with us.
you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had, it's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. So do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by. Never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Tell them JP sent you. Get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue. That's my carrier. Love them. Paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. TrueBody offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on TrueBody and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on this College Football Thursday. We're going to talk a lot of college football. We're waiting the arrival of Scott Carter in our little StreamYard box there. We'll pump him up when he jumps aboard. Obviously, these guys are very busy during these times. Sometimes things pop up in the middle of fall camp. So, yeah, we will I will do a little producing here on the air. Nick, Scott says he does not have the link, so I will send you his email, and maybe you may have sent it to the wrong email, so we'll do that right now. This is how we do it. I am smart enough to know in my old age that I can't multitask like I once did.
Ask him to check his spam, because this happened with TJ. Remember when we were having?
Oh, are we going into spam now?
I sent like 10 emails to TJ, and I'm like, I'm trying, TJ, I'm trying. And he was like, oh, they all went to my spam. So,
and that's like a new development, right?
Yeah. All of a sudden, my emails that I'm sending out are popping in people's spam. So that very may well be, because I've sent like a few to him, but I'll send another one for good measure here.
Maybe the StreamYard stuff now has been marked as spam for some reason. I don't know. We may have to look into another company to do this. I don't know. We shall see. But he'll pop up here in just a little bit. I was reading, by the way, you can find all the Scott Carter stuff on FloridaGators.com. Great resource. I was looking at some of his articles on practice so far, and it's obviously just like the Buccaneers. It's the quarterback battle that's getting a lot of attention, but it looks pretty much like Graham Mertz is going to sew this up, because he's got a lot of experience, obviously coming from Wisconsin. He's been around, started games.
What kind of experience does he have?
Not great experience, but I mean,
we just said I mean at the same time. No, I was going to say, like, I mean, it is Wisconsin. Yeah. I mean, we're not going to ever associate them with offense. No,
it's Big Ten. It's Big Ten. Come on, man.
And it's tough. I get it.
Conference, second best conference out there.
Yeah, but the SEC, and given their schedule, I mean, it's not really going to let up for Graham.
Well, the bigger part of it is you've got an offensive line that's young, and you've got also a quarterback that's maybe not the most fleet of foot. He's a drop back, big kid type of quarterback, and he's not going to be eluding a whole lot of this relentless pass rushes of the SEC with these incredible speed guys coming off the edge. It's just not a really good fit. And as Corey Long said yesterday, it's until he gets what's the kid's name, Lagway from Texas, the top overall quarterback recruit. The clock shouldn't really start on Billy Napier. So. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be, I don't think the offense is going to be, that dynamic, but we shall see. Let's go to the expert, shall we? Let's bring in Scott Carter, who's showing up on our screen. There he is. Wow, looking very dapper. Got a little salt and pepper going there. I like it. What's up, Scotty? How are you? And we can't hear him. Then we can't hear him.
Oh, my stream
Are you
issues.
on mute?
My stream issues today. Is he on mute?
No, maybe not. No.
Here, Scott, I think you could probably hear me. Just exit and return here real quick, if you can.
He can hear you, but can't hear me. This is great. This is great TV.
I love it. I love it when technology doesn't work.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody's focused on the quarterback battle, but there's, as we've kind of said with Florida, you've got so many young players, and I think Napier is kind of, he knows that the future is not right now. I mean, well, the future is now in terms of these guys playing. Scott, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? He can hear me, but we can't hear him. That is the issue. I'll let Nick work on this a little bit. See if we can get it working. Check 1, 2. Try it. Oh, it's popped out again. We'll pop him back in.
We'll keep trying. I promise here.
Soon it will work. Soon it will pop. Yeah, and they start against Utah, a trip to Utah, which is ranked 14th, I believe, in the preseason poll. A team they beat last year. Really, I thought one of their better games, bigger wins of the year last year, the first game of the season. Huge win for Billy Napier. Anthony Richardson, played really, really well. By the way, there's another subplot everybody's talking about. It's like, why is Anthony Richardson going to be the 4th overall pick and start week 1 in the NFL, which he may start. The reports are he's played very well. But, of course, you think there's going to be reports out of Indianapolis that he's sucking it up, that he's terrible? But,
no, I training camp fodder and all these young quarterbacks is so funny to me because we're tracking like every throw these guys make, and like they'll rip one over the middle of the field, and they're like, I saw this yesterday with like CJ Stroud, for example. He's like ripping all over practice. They're like, CJ Stroud's going to be fantastic. This is a great example of this because of this throw in a one-on-one drill where the receiver has like 5 seconds to make a move on the cornerback or something before he finally gets open. It's like, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
That's not happening. I don't care how great the throw is. That's not happening in real life. So I take so much of the stories you come out of training camp, I take with a grain of salt. I truly do. Yeah. And that's why, the Buccaneers camp is very much the same way. I mean, you look good. The defense isn't playing well. You look, offense looks bad. The defense is playing. You just don't know. You're playing against yourself. That's why Friday's game against the Steelers will be very eye-opening, I think, for the quarterbacks and the offense, even though the offenses will be, or defenses will be pretty bland. All right, we'll try one more time. Scott Carter, can we hear you? We can't hear him. We still can't hear him. All right. We can take a break and I could call on the phone.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll take a break and we'll call him on the phone. We'll go old school technology. We've seen your handsome face, so we know what you look like. We'll go old school technology here. We'll take a break. We'll get Scott on the line. So 2 minutes break. Stay with us. We'll be back here on the JP Peterson Show. Our apologies.
This is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body. At American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595 or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, let's try this one more time as we welcome in Scott Carter on our Gator Report, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. What's up, Scott? How are you?
What's up, fellas? Yeah, we'll just have to do it old school today, man.
That's all good, man. Thank you for your patience, my friend. Let's jump right into it. Let's get your early impressions. What are we, 7-8 days practices into camp now? What year 2 of Billy Napier? What are your overall observations here?
Well, I'm always one of those people, like, I like to see a scrimmage first, and so I'm going to get that opportunity this afternoon. They have a scrimmage at the Swamp inside the stadium this afternoon. It's their first one of camp, and what I've seen so far, guys, is just a very, very young team, the youngest that I can remember at Florida since I've certainly been around. I think you would have to go back many years to find a team. They got a first-year players roster and a supplement to go with the regular roster, and I think there's 48 guys who are on that first-year player list who were not here last year. So that's almost a full NFL active roster right there.
Wow.
You got a lot of turnover. You've got a new quarterback in Graham Mertz. Just a lot of young players vying for competition. And it's kind of one of those camps, guys, that it's always intriguing to me when you really don't know what you're going to see this year from this team. I mean, I'm kind of being safe side. I'm looking at 6-6. To me, that's a reasonable expectation. But, I've seen them pick to win 3. I've seen them pick to win as many as 9. So it's just the kind of team this year is for the Gators. And I think they're going to keep us guessing a lot.
Well, for me, it starts and ends in college football. Well, not ends, but it's on the offensive line. And we've actually seen this from a numeric metric. The more offensive line starts you have historically going into a season, the better your team is. And it's a pretty dramatic number. So that's kind of been where most of Florida State and Florida has been. When they're good, their offensive line is good. When they're bad, their offensive line is bad. Where's Florida on that track?
Well, they've got some experience. The most senior veteran on the front is the center, Kingsley Aguican, and he's a veteran. Austin Barber is going to be the left tackle. He's been around. Richie Leonard, who's been a swing guy throughout his career on the interior line, he's back. There's some a new guy on the right tackle spot, Damian George, a transfer from Alabama. So it's kind of a mixture there. It's certainly not Florida's most experienced line they've had in recent years, but it's also, does have some experience. So it's kind of middle of the road there. And, if your analytics that you mentioned, JP, I mean, that makes very much sense. I mean, I've seen that happen here at Florida. If they have veterans up there, it's a better team. And I think with this year's team, it's going to be very important because I look at this being as a run-first kind of offense in Billy Napier's second year, because one thing that Florida does have is a quality backfield with Trevor Etienne, Montrell Johnson Jr., the Tulane transfer, Cam Carroll. So they've got some experience back there. I think that's what they're going to build around. And then, of course, we all know it's going to the eye is going to be on Graham Mertz at quarterback. What can he do to kind of change the fortunes of this Florida football program? Is he a temporary solution, or can he surprise us and, do something that maybe we don't see right now?
And when you look at who Graham Mertz is going to be throwing the ball to, we obviously all know who, Ricky Pearsall pretty well. But outside of him, it seems like maybe some unknowns there, maybe some guys we're not familiar with. How is that room sort of shaking out so far, and what can we expect from the other guys?
Yeah, it's a really young room, guys. I mean, they did lose Xavier Henderson. He decided to transfer to Cincinnati and rejoin Emory Jones up there for one more ride together. They brought 3 freshmen in who 2 of them were here in the spring, Andy Jean, and the one that really I like from watching him in camp so far, he just got here, the kid from Tampa, actually.
Gaither, Eugene Wilson.
Third. Yeah, Trey, they call him. You can tell he's an athletic player, a guy that I think is going to be a nice little piece for them in the slot. And then the other kid they had here earlier this year is Aiden Mizell from Orlando area. So they've got some young injection of talent at that position. Pearsall is the veteran guy. They're looking at him to kind of, lead the way. And they've got, Caleb Douglas back, who surprised some people last year. Ty Bowman, who, again, kind of came out of nowhere last year and, had a decent season. But I think that group as a whole, for them to really help out the offense, I think those three young guys I mentioned, at least a couple of those guys are going to have to contribute significantly in year one to take some of that load off the running game because, as good as I think those backs are, you've got to be able to mix it up.
Yeah. Eugene Wilson III. If your first name is Eugene, go with Trey. Go with Trey Wilson. Yeah. I think that no one wants to be called Eugene. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be a third. Yeah. Scott Carter joining us from FloridaGators.com. All right, let's move over to the defensive side. And you got some big guys up front. I know that. Big number 21. What's he weighing now? Where's he at?
I think he checked in. Let me see here. I don't want to get this wrong because everybody's – what did he check in on? June 23rd, Desmond weighed 439. Now, 439.
He slimmed down.
Yeah, that fluctuates. So he may be down to 425 now, but if he has a good dinner tonight, fellas, he might be back at 440 tomorrow. So
we make jokes, but this dude can play, man. He's a mountain. He is a mountain.
Yeah. For as big as he is, I think he's the heaviest player in college football. He runs anywhere from normally 425 to 450. But for him to be able to move like he does is kind of amazing. And you wonder if he were to really be able to, chisel that down to 395 or something, how much that would help him to be. I know that maybe is the goal long term, but they're going to take what they can get from him at this point because, he's an important part of that puzzle up front. It's a defensive line that Florida has kind of struggled there with depth in recent years. Yeah. They bulked up there with some newcomers. They've got some young players returning, like Tyreek Sapp is a guy that I've liked watching. I wrote about Chris McClellan a couple of days ago. He's another guy to keep your eye on up there. And then, of course, like you said, Desmond Watson, we can't miss him. But I do think that, they lost Gervon Dexter to the NFL. He was a second-round pick of the Bears. I thought Gervon, a stability factor last year, but he needed some help. I think this group overall will be better long-term than they were the last couple of years.
And when you look at it just in general, too, like expectations, I think a lot of the Florida fan base, you almost have to talk a portion of it off the ledge a little bit because everybody wants, the instant results, right? And Florida's a big-time program, and you've heard Napier talk about, it's been 15 years since, winning an SEC championship and all those things. What do you think are realistic expectations in year two, and do they need to be tempered a little bit until you see some of these great recruiting classes get in here?
Yeah, I think, I think we were at a point in the program's history here, recent history, where most fans, there is a little bit of a temperament of expectations, more so than usual, I sense this year, because that's kind of been the message that Napier has sent. Look, we're headed in the right direction, but we had to start over in a lot of ways. And, when you turn your roster over as much as they did since last year, it is really, when I'm out there, I'm still carrying my roster around because I don't recognize all these guys. So it's that kind of team. And I just think that, as I said earlier, I'm looking at 6-6. This is a building year. Last year to me was kind of a reshaping of the program internally, new coach, new facility, really a new way of operating, kind of modernize the program, which Napier, I think, was a good guy to bring in. He's young enough to realize how the game is changing through the transfer portal and through NIL, and he's accepted those and embraced those different concepts. But now it's time to, okay, let's see what we can put out on the field. I do think the product's going to be better this year. I think there's going to be more overall talent, but I'm not expecting a huge jump. They're not going to win 11 games and win the SEC. I think that would be a miracle in my eyes. So I just think a good season would be, 7-8 wins. I think that'd be an excellent season. So we'll see where I am at the end of the year. But I think there is I think the expectations have been dialed down somewhat for Gator fans compared to normal.
All right, Scott, my last question is to recruiting. We're not going to talk about realignment because Nick won't let me. DJ Lagway, the number 12 overall prospect, is the quarterback coming in next year. I guess he's still signed and ready. I guess the bidding wars are going on right now, right, for NIL money. But it's expected that he'll get to Florida. Is that really the future of this program right now? As our good friend Corey Long yesterday told us, Napier's clock starts when Lagway gets on campus, because that's the future of this program. Is that fair to say? I know that's disrespectful to the guys that are there, but is that realistic to talk about?
Yeah, I think that's how this thing's shaping up where it is right now. They had to have a bridge year between obviously Anthony Richardson leaving early and Lagway being the guy coming in. So Graham Mertz is that guy. I mean, technically if Mertz had a great year and they surprised, he could come back next year too.
Right.
But I think GJ Lagway is the guy that, Billy Napier identified early. And he's been at practice some the first couple weeks of camp. He's actively recruiting other guys. It almost feels like he's already part of the team in some ways. So that's just another unique element of college football in 2023. Here's a guy who's not even a member of the team or signed yet, but he's hanging around practice trying to recruit players, and had a receiver here with him who's the number one recruit in the country. It was just different.
Oh my! Wow, that's a wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's just the way it is these days. It's not just here. It's the college football as we know it now. And he's very visible on social media. It's unusual, but at the same time, that's a new age. And I think when you bring a guy into that prominent of a role before he's even on campus with your program, I think that says it all right there.
Wow. That is eye-opening. That's crazy stuff. Scott Carter, FloridaGators.com. Gator Scott on the X machine, right? Is that your X handle now? We have to call it X?
I do my Xing, so,
That's where you do your X. I don't think your employers will like that when you're Xing on the job. All right, my friend. Great stuff as always. We look forward to hearing from you all year long. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, guys.
Scott Carter there from FloridaGators.com, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES Lawgroup.com, the biggest Gator fan we know, Scott Jeeves. He'll join us next week in studio, so we'll have all of them on for our Gator Report. So we'll look forward to that. All right, quick break. When we come back, Patrick Burnham from the Osceola Rivals Network will join us. He is on site at the Florida State practice in Jacksonville, so we'll get an update from him on the field stuff with Florida State, with Jordan Travis and the rest of the boys. So stay with us. Quick break here.
Did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. Where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, and the Italiano Insurance, bringing you our Florida State reports. Great folks at Italiano, Jeff Italiano and Nat, big FSU fans. Nat used to play for the Seminoles back in the day, so give them a call at 813-877-7799. All right, let's head out live to Florida State's practice out in Jacksonville. They've headed over to Jacksonville to do a little outside work here. And our good friend Pat Burnham from the Osceola, the Rivals Network, joins us here live from practice. What's up, my friend? How are you?
Well, it's going well, JP. It is a very hot day in Jacksonville. It's no cooler in Jacksonville than it is in Tallahassee as they're getting ready to go to their second break of the day. I'm watching most of the team go into a cold storage facility. Yeah. And I wish I could follow them.
The cool house.
It's their first day in full. It's their first day in full pads, and Mike Norvell said yesterday before they left Tallahassee that he wanted it to be as hot and as humid as it could be for their first full padded practice, and he certainly got his wish today because it is a scorcher. But they're about 2/3 of the way through their first full padded practice of the 2023 camp.
Now, are they practicing over near the old Gator Bowl? What facility are they using?
They are at the University of North Florida.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, one of the hottest days of my life. I don't know if you were there. You might. I forget how old you are now. Was 1989 opener in Jacksonville. FSU versus Brett Favre.
Awful.
Southern Miss. Oh my God. They had like 200 people fall out in the stands. That was one of the hottest days, and of course Brett Favre was pretty hot that day himself, and he beat FSU.
Yeah, I do remember that day, and it was hot. And this day is just about like that with the absence of Brett Favre.
Yes, thank you. All right, so let's get into it. Your thoughts on camp? 7 practices in now? What has stood out to you?
Well, listen, I think it's the deepest team that Mike Norvell's had across the board. Now, obviously, they feel really good about their offense. It should be a very high-octane offense with Jordan Travis at the controls. He has looked really sharp through the first 7 days. And, of course, he has no shortage of weapons. They've added Keon Coleman and Des Hill and Kyle Morlock. And, listen, Keon Coleman's been very, very impressive in camp. But, he's a taller guy, about 6'4", and, we always put those guys in the category, right? They're straight line runners. They're the go route guys, stretch the defense. But he's a guy that's got some good lateral movement. They've worked him at returning punts, and he's a guy that can make people miss after he's got the ball. And then, of course, Kyle Morlock and Jaheim Bell both look good in camp. And, really, this offense, to me, the interesting battle is going to be at offensive tackle where you've got Robert Scott, Jeremiah Byers, and Bless Harris competing for the starting left and right tackle positions. I think that's going to be a battle that goes on through camp. It's very competitive. Robert Scott has, of course, played a lot of football for Florida State. Then you got Jeremiah Byers, who, despite not having played Florida State, is on the Outland Trophy watch list. Obviously, an all-conference performer at UTEP for a couple of years. And then you got Bless Harris, who's another guy that transferred in from Lamar a year ago and got hurt in opener against LSU. But listen, that battle is going to be very interesting, I think, for the offensive side of the ball. And then defensively, the Darrell Jackson thing was very disappointing when the NCAA denied his waiver. Obviously, last night, Marco Rubio, the senator from the state of Florida, put out a message that the NCAA needs to reinvestigate that, reopen that file, and take that family hardship into consideration a little bit more. But certainly, Braden Fisk, the All-MAC transfer at defensive tackle, we didn't get a chance to see him in the spring, JP, and he is he is a defensive tackle version of Jared Verse, meaning you don't know how the transition is going to go from Group of Five to Power Five, and this kid is explosive, fast, quick. He's going to be a problem at defensive tackle for people. And then, of course, you've got Verse on the outside of him, and Josh Farmer and Fabian Lovett and Patrick Payton. The defensive front is going to be good, even if Jackson is not going to be a part of the active roster this fall. If there was some way they could get the NCAA to turn it, then you put a guy that's a potential first or second round draft pick on your defensive line. They could be unstoppable because this kid is phenomenal. I mean, Darrell Jackson he legitimately is a first 2 or 3 rounds future draft pick in the NFL. And then, of course, the corners look good. Fintrell Cypress is not disappointed. The transfer from Virginia. Some of the freshmen have been fun to watch, particularly in the defensive backfield, where you've got Edwin Joseph and Conrad Hussey. Now, obviously, they're going to have to play some young guys back there deep in the secondary. You got Ashland Barker, a redshirt freshman, coming in competing, Kentron Kirkland. But I think they feel pretty good about their first unit on defense. I do think they got to have some guys that build some confidence. Your second team linebacker group, whoever those turn out to be, whether it's Omar Graham and DJ Lundy, if they're going to a 2 linebacker set, a 4-2-5. Although we're going to see them in a 4-2 and 4-3 a little bit, but I think they've still got some work to do at linebacker from a depth perspective and at safety from a depth perspective. But certainly Mike Norvell's most talented team. And listen, they are a confident group without being cocky, JP. They seem self-assured. I'll stress the same thing with you. I stressed with you guys last year. These guys like to compete against each other, and they like to help each other. It's a tight team.
That's great. That's great.
You mentioned or no, go ahead, JP, if you want.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on the Darrell Jackson thing, because for those of you who don't know, tell us a little bit about his hardship. And then there's another factor. I don't know if I should mention this because I don't know a lot about it, but it's been on Twitter that former FSU AD Stan Wilcox, who left in disgrace and may have some vengeance out for FSU, is the part of the NCAA division that is dealing out this punishment, which seems like a horrific conflict of interest to me. So how does that all work into it?
Well, all right. So Darrell signed let's take you through the Darrell Jackson story. He signed out of Quincy, Florida. He played for Corey Fuller, who's now on staff at Florida State, former Florida State defensive back. He signed with Maryland out of high school, transferred to Miami, became immediately eligible last year, and was their best defensive tackle. And he has a family member who is sick, and I think I know who it is, but I don't want to guess, right? But he's got a family member, my understanding, that is sick, and that situation has not improved. So he determined that he wanted to be closer to his family, which is obviously 8 miles down the road from campus. My belief is that they felt, I would think, having worked at 2 major college programs, that they felt pretty good about the fact that they felt they could get that waiver passed when they decided to accept him as a transfer. What happened in the interim, no one's real sure. I know anecdotally, I can think of at least 2 times when I was at USF that we got guys eligible that were transferring in under maybe not such black and white circumstances as what it seems this situation is. But yeah, I don't know. Listen, does that get to Stan Wilcox's desk? I don't know. But obviously I know there's a lot of talk of that. You would hate to think that would carry over, and that I would think that he would put the young man in front of whatever personal convictions he has against Florida State. But you don't ever know. Politics are a part of everything. But like I said, it sounds like they're not willing to let go of this, and I don't know what the next step would be besides hiring a lawyer and suing NCAA. Certainly, Marco Rubio has called for it, and listen. But again, that defensive line with him was going to be really, really, really good, and it still should be pretty good without him. But he is a guy that's got a lot of NFL ability, size, the way he moves, explosiveness, all that. So it is a hit for the Florida State defense. But listen, they've got depth. That's the one. They got depth that is 2 inside tackle positions. So hopefully it won't affect them too much if that decision stays the same that it is today.
And you mentioned on your first answer there, a lot of the big players for this team and very talent all over the place. I'm curious of Winston Wright, who I remember we talked to you last year, and I believe even over Johnny Wilson, he was thought of the higher, transfer wide receiver that they brought in. Unfortunately, had the car accident, coming back from major leg surgery. How has he looked out there so far, and is he a factor here, you think, in this wide receiver depth chart?
Yeah, listen, I think they're going to be deep at wide receiver, as you mentioned. Everybody had high expectations for Winston coming in because out of those 2 kids, when they arrived at Florida State, Winston had the more proven track record. He's been really, really productive. I think 100 catches over 2 seasons and about 1,500 yards, somewhere around that. You can look it up, but that's about right. And then, so when he came in, and obviously they're 2 different type of players. Winston's more of a smaller guy, about 5'10", 5'11", and plays the slot. He can play on the outside, but listen, he looks like he's kind of got rid of, he had a kind of a hitch in his giddy up in the spring. Mm-hmm. You don't see as much of that. Mike mentioned the fact in his post practice press conference 2 days ago that he thought Winston was looking better and better, and he has gotten more active, and he does look to be a little bit more smoother in his stride, like he's not like the injuries affected him less than it has previous to this, going back to the spring and April.
Pat Burnham of the Osceola Rivals Network joining us here at FSU practice. Let's take a look at the running back room. Obviously, Treshaun Ward is off to Kansas State, I believe, but still loaded with Trey Benson, who looks great, by the way. I know he's lost some weight, leaned up. Lawrence Tolafili, of course, our St. Pete guy, Largo guy, and there's some young kids in there as well. Take me through the running back room. What do you see?
Well, I mean, the first 2 you mentioned are proven. They've done it at Florida State, and then you've got Rodney Hill, who was one of the stories of spring, and Keziah Holmes, who has looked really, really good so far in camp, at least in the Shells practices. He had several nice runs and team drills yesterday at Florida State before they came over here. So, you can make the argument that Florida State has got 4 quality running backs in that backfield. And, of course, that doesn't count C.J. Campbell, who came to Florida State as a walk-on from Panama City, and he's been impressive in his own right. And we were talking the other day as a staff, talking about, well, listen, when you're talking about Rodney Hill and Keziah Holmes being listed as either third or fourth team, and we don't really talk depth chart, one of the things Mike does not like us to talk about, but obviously they can finish 1 to 4 to cover my bases. Right. But when Keziah Holmes or Rodney Hill is that deep on your depth chart, you're pretty good. Because Rodney Hill, looks like a guy, at least based off what we saw in spring, that is going to break out and have a really strong season at some point. Listen, I said Florida State's got a great problem on offense. How do you get all these guys the ball, right?
Right.
They've got guys at every position. I mean, everybody talks about Jaheim Bell and Kyle Morlock, but Mark Easton Douglas, the big kid at tight end, has had a tremendous camp, and he made one of the best catches in all of camp. And I wish I could explain it to you, but when you see a 280-pound man running down the field, come off one leg, go up in the air, and turn his back, I mean, he's got great body and made a great one-handed catch.
Wow.
I wish I could explain it, but anyway, listen. So it's an embarrassment. It's almost an embarrassment of riches from an offensive skill standpoint. And Mike Norvell, in my opinion, will have a great opportunity to create a lot of mismatches because of that. He already does a lot with misdirection, and JP, as you being a former quarterback, we got in a long time where there was an area of specialization in football, right? But Mike Norvell can put 11 personnel, JP, and put them in some, let's say Jaheim Bell's in as the tight end. Well, Jaheim Bell can play running back and tight end and receiver. So if a defensive coordinator comes in and say, well, they're in 11 personnel, well, if Jaheim Bell's in the game as the one for the tight end,
right? You
could end up in 20. You could end up in double, where he's not. And listen, I just think that with some of the talent they have, and we were watching something the other day where you had 3 receivers to one side, and you had Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman lined up on the same side. I mean, that creates some opportunities on the backside of that.
Yes.
So
maybe
anyway,
for a 280-pound tight end to catch a football up against the 130-pound corner. That'd be.
So it's gonna be fun to watch them on offense. I really do think it's gonna be. I think I think they've got a chance to light it up against most folks, and of course, we're gonna find out a lot about Florida State in the first ball game.
That's
you get
right.
LSU, who much like Florida State's probably going to be a better football team than they were a year ago, particularly being that it's going to be their second year under Brian Kelly, and obviously he having Jaden Daniels back at quarterback. So. Although they did have to bring in a lot of transfers at defensive back. But listen, I think this is about as exciting as I can remember a lot of the fan base being since I moved back into Tallahassee around 2014. And it's gonna be a fun football team to watch, and they've been fun to watch practice. They get after it, and they like to compete against each other, but they like to help each other. You will see offensive and defensive linemen giving each other tips on how to defeat a certain technique. And so it's been a fun camp to watch so far.
And I was just coming to the schedule part there, and you mentioned the LSU, and then I believe 3 weeks later they got to play Clemson at Clemson. So that's going to be tough. They get the 2 toughest games in the first 4 weeks. With that being said, I mean, let's just go through like a scenario here because, there's a lot of hype around this program. Could they compete for a national championship and all that? Given all that hype, if they go out there and let's just say they lost to LSU and they lost to Clemson and they finished 10-2, does that almost feel underwhelming in a sense, which almost feels weird for a program that was where it was just 2 years ago?
Yes.
Well, I think you're speaking to the expectations that the fan base has, and I think listen, 10-2. If that's underwhelming, then we really need to sit back and adjust our expectations for college football because listen, it's a competitive sport. That Florida State's going to face some good teams, not just Clemson and LSU. There's going to, I think everybody's discounting Florida to a point that it just, it really, I don't think you should do that. But anyway, listen, 10-2. There's never been a 2-loss team getting the college football playoffs. So as long as it's been 4 teams, I believe that is correct. You can go back and check my math.
You are correct.
But listen, here's the thing. From an ACC standpoint, you could lose to Clemson in week 4 and beat them in the championship game.
Exactly.
If you finish second, and I'm assuming in your scenario, you would have Florida State finishing second in that scenario. Well, if that's the case, they can play them again in the championship. And then it's a matter of, are they, at least one SEC team's going, one Big Ten team's going, probably 2 from one of those 2 conferences. So there's one spot, right? So in your scenario, is an 11-2 Florida State team better than a 11-2 USC team or Texas or Oklahoma? So I think that's, it's not. I think we know that the 3 seats at the college football table are already taken, right? Most of the time.
Right.
So, but I think everyone should be happy anytime your program has 10 wins. But listen, I think here's the other thing. I was telling somebody, we talk about the expectations that we have for the fans have for this team, the media has for this team. But listen, here's the thing. I think this team still has some things it wants to prove, right? Yeah. They haven't won Jordan Travis and Jared versus Legacy and all these seniors that are getting ready to go out changes significantly if they can get to the ACC championship game and then win it even more so. So I think that I don't think they feel outside pressure because I think they want to go above and beyond what they did this past season, and which is getting to the ACC championship game. And obviously the goal is to win it. So I think I think maybe to some extent our expectations are kind of kind of washed out because I think they've got some expectations of themselves.
Hey, Pat, obviously you also do a lot of work on recruiting. You guys do great work there at the Osceola Rivals Network on all recruiting. KJ Bolden was a big commitment they got over the weekend. It seems to have really reverberated through college football to say, okay, it's confirmed Florida State is back in the elite level recruiting business. What did that commitment mean? I mean, in the days of NIL, that basically just means the bidding war starts, I guess. But how solid is that commitment? How important is that commitment? And catch us up on where FSU is in recruiting for 2024.
Well, I think it speaks volumes to how far they've come. The type of athlete that we've seen at camps, JP, this summer and since he's gotten here, gradually has gotten better. Listen, we always say when talk about recruiting, don't listen to what a kid says, watch what he does. And KJ Bolden was on campus multiple times this spring, from starting in January and through spring practice. And he was on campus this summer, I believe. So and here's the other thing, he committed to Florida State without taking an official visit. He had visited Georgia and I believe Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so listen, he is a legit star in this recruiting class. You watch his film, he is the real deal. He's long, he's athletic, he can run, he closes fast, he's physical. Listen, he's got great ball skills. Go watch his highlight tapes as a wide receiver. He's a phenomenal athlete. But certainly you beat Georgia on now several prospects.
Right.
The defending national champion, to your point, now you got to hold him, right? You got to hold him. December 21st is a long time away. I think that Florida State's going to have to back some of this up on the field, right? I mean, if you were to have an underwhelming season, whatever underwhelming these prospects would think that would be, but you got to get them to the finish line. But they are leading the race. They've got a commitment from KJ Bolden. Now there's effects everywhere. He committed, and then Rodarius Morgan decommitted yesterday and committed to Alabama. So was that an Alabama just finally came through with an offer, or he didn't want to compete against KJ Bolden? Who knows? But obviously. Every action has a reaction, right? But listen, right. KJ Bolden was a big get, no doubt. When you go head to head against the two-time defending national champion and beat them on a prospect, without a doubt they wanted, that's a big deal. And it shows just how far this program has come in the 4 years, not even 4 years Mike Norvell has been here.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Last question, realignment. What are you hearing? I'm hearing FSU is out. They'll make an announcement here in the next couple of days before the August 15th deadline. And my guess is the Big Ten, just by following the money. What are you thinking?
Well, listen, I've heard everything. I've heard in the last 4 days, I've heard that there could be something that was going to be said or announced by the end of this week. Obviously, you mentioned the 15th. Then I talked to somebody today who I trust and has a great resource when it comes to Florida State athletics, and he doesn't think right now they're going anywhere. Now, here's the thing, if the Big Ten's at 18 right now, right? I mean, right. With the additions of Oregon and Washington, so are they willing to go to 20? I think there's some politics of who the travel partner would be. Is it going to be Clemson? Is it going to be North Carolina? Is it going to be Virginia? I think everybody's always assumed Florida State and Clemson are a duo, but North Carolina's got a great basketball program that the Big Ten would love to have, and they've got an entire state where the marketing for either SEC or the Big Ten that they only have a small portion of that in South Carolina, where you already are, especially if you're SEC. But listen, right. I think that everybody thinks they know. I'm not sure. Listen. Last week, there was a day of practice, JP, where I went to practice, and there were still 4 Power 5 conferences.
That's right. Yeah, not anymore.
When I got back from practice, the Pac-12 was no longer existent. So, listen, who knows what's going to happen? Listen, here's. I had this discussion this morning on the ride to practice. All right, there's some very smart people at Florida State, some very smart people at Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, and so on. And no one has been able to figure out a way out of that GOR. Yeah. So I don't know. Listen, I wish I had a better answer for you. I would not be shocked if something happened tomorrow. I would not be shocked if nothing was said on August 15th. if nothing happened tomorrow. I've got people that I trust that see it both ways, right?
Right.
I do think right now it's turning into kind of every man for himself. I think that started with Colorado, who decided to bail without a partner. Then Arizona was going to bail without a partner, and Arizona State would not have bailed from the Pac-12 if they thought it was going to stick together at all. So I think at some point you can't be worried about what other schools are going to do. You got to take care of yourself. But I think the dance card's getting full, particularly in the Big Ten,
That's
who
right.
I do not see going over 20 teams. But I will say this: listen, I've got a source who talked to a Power 5 AD, and that Power 5 AD, who is at a big name brand school, believes that this thing is going to 3 conferences of 20 teams.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
Take that for what it's worth. And,
I agree.
So anyway, football's changing by the minute, JP.
Yeah, we'll figure out what it is by the end of practice. Pat Burnham, you can find him on the X machine at Osceola Pat, and of course at the floridastate.n.rivals.com is the website. Great stuff on Florida State. Did I get that right, Pat?
Yeah, floridastate.rivals.com, or you can go to theosceola.com. Either one will get you there. floridastate.rivals.com or theosceola.com. And we got daily practice reports. We got recruiting updates. Got the premium recruiting board where Fish and I interact with our subscribers, and that is a premium service, but certainly have some free content. We'd love for you to check us out. We are going to start a promotion here in the next couple of days, but I think it's full of value at its full price.
Damn right.
But yeah, man, we JP, look forward to talking with you every week as we get into football season, and I do think it's going to be a fun season for the Florida State football fans that listen to your show, and
Can't wait,
I
man.
look forward to going through the season with you guys.
It's going to be super fun. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. Go in a cool room or something. Go cool off. All right.
I'll do it, man. All right. Thank you.
Pat Burnham of theosceola.com. Just go right there. You can find all the good stuff. And it is excellent stuff. If you're an FSU fan, it is a must have. Man, I'm so jacked up about this season. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. And either way it goes for FSU, you feel like they're back. The roster is there. They're stacked. They can finally compete with some of these big teams. That's all you can ask for. Right. Let the chips fall where they may. The downturn, which comes for every team, it seems like every time, even Alabama, folks, there were times when Alabama sucked out loud for 20 years.
Right.
So it's the same for Georgia. They suck for 40 years, except for Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
I guess where I'm at, and I mean, everybody's got an opinion on how they feel about certain teams in college football. I mean, you saw the AP poll, they were at number 8. And then you see Brett McMurphy, he has them all the way up at number 3. And then I listened to, like a Joel Klatt, who I think is, like, for my money, he's good as it gets in the mainstream talking college football. And I was listening to his podcast yesterday. He's got Florida State at 11, which is as low as I think I've seen them anywhere. And he's been labeled an FSU hater in the past and everything and all that. And he brought up some points, and, I think they are valid points. Like they did, you can't excuse the fact that in Brian Kelly's first game against LSU, they got a lot of help to squeak out of that game. I think we would both agree they played better than LSU and should have put it away. But
if Joel Klatt thinks that LSU was the better team that day, he don't know shit about football.
Well, no, he didn't say that.
FSU dominated both lines of scrimmage, and it wasn't even close.
No, I'm not saying he said that.
FSU had to mismanage their way.
Right.
They're 1 yard away from taking a 3-score lead with 6 minutes to go. Don't give me that BS. I'm not being a homer when I was there 20 rows up. No, that wasn't even a football game.
I agree that FSU played better, but it is what it is. They had some missteps later in the game, and it was closer than it probably should have been. Then they had the losing streak, and then the winning streak they had was against, I think we've mentioned this with Corey Long as well.
Yeah.
Backup quarterbacks in there. And listen, you play who you play at the end of the day, right? Mm-hmm. But I guess I'm searching for, because it's all, every time there's all this hype and everything, maybe I'm being a little too not non-optimistic, but I'm always looking for, okay, where's the flaw?
Well, the linebacker, they're thin at inside linebacker big time. And, I think the secondary is somewhat unproven.
I think it's secondary myself.
Yeah,
I like
secondary is unproven, but
I like
I'm going to tell you this. I'll take a secondary with the talent that they have with a quarterback that's going to have about 1.4 seconds to throw, because that pass rush is going to be brutal.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Gary Koch is going to join us, Golf Channel NBC analyst for many, many years, and now the recipient of the Payne Stewart Award, the most prestigious award in golf. We will celebrate with him and chat with him when we come back. We're brought to you by Bay Area Medical Center. The Florida State Report brought to you by Italiano Insurance. Great folks out there who saved me $1,000 on my auto insurance and great customer service. Charity was on the phone with me till 9:30 at night to make sure it got done. That's what they do at Italiano. Great customer service and save you money. 813-877-7799. Back with Gary Koch right after this.
Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago. audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on. So many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com. 4700 Extravaganza Productions. They are awesome.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
Back to the JP Peterson Show here. Having a little issue connecting with Gary Koch. Well, hopefully we'll get him to join us here in a little bit. And very excited to get Gary on and chat about his Payne Stewart Award. I was just reading some of the accolades of his career just to remind me. And they're incredible. 6-time winner on the PGA Tour, Walker Cup winner, going 3-0 at St. Andrews. I love to reminisce about some of those things way back in the day. Great golfer and even better philanthropist. What he's done for the First Tee here. Over 90,000 kids here locally have participated in the First Tee. And what that program does for kids is just outstanding. It just takes kids that literally have never played golf, mostly from low-income families, and not only teaches them the game of golf, but so many great things and life lessons, and education is a part of it. And they really just start to have a foundation in their life where maybe they did not have one. And it just leads to great outcomes, great outcomes. And that's what, if you're not on this earth to help others and change lives, what are you doing? What are you doing? It should be part of your everyday life. And it certainly has been for Gary Koch. And that's why he has been named with the Payne Stewart Award. So we'll try to catch up with him. If not today, we'll hook it up for another time. To get into some of our comments here today. We haven't talked a whole lot of Bucs today. They're not practicing, or maybe just be walkthroughs today as they get ready for Friday night. James believes that the accurate with the Bucs at 6.5. I think it's going to be over. I think they're closer to an 8-win team, 8, 9, 10-win team. But that's cutting hairs. Really, it really depends on health more than anything else. This team is not very deep. Their offensive line is a work in progress, and I think they got some talent up there. But we'll see how it comes together. I think this offense is going to struggle early, just because of lack of continuity. But we shall see. They could surprise.
Yeah, and James kind of puts that here in a different comment. We were talking about the way the 2002 season kind of parallels to this one. Defense held the fourth down when the new Gruden O gelled. It worked. They started 6-1. Yesterday, I meant to say this 2023 D doesn't have 4 Hall of Famers, so early wins might be an issue.
Yeah.
Which I think we're all on that kind of same thinking, that they're going to struggle early. But we're hoping, keyword hoping, that when they get on, probably after Buffalo, because I think Buffalo on Thursday night in Buffalo is going to be really, really tough. I
chalk that one up.
Yeah, I'm not expecting that. But coming back and playing the inexperienced Texans, the Titans, then you got to play the 49ers. That's another roadblock. But Colts, Panthers, Falcons, Packers, and
all
Saints,
winnable games.
Those games I think are all winnable, and hopefully they can make up some of those wins there and get to, like we said, 7, 8, or 9.
Yeah, I think for Todd Bowles, keeping these guys engaged early on is going to be tough because I think they're going to suffer. The NFL's, it's tough. You're going up to Minnesota, a very loud place to play. Kirk Cousins, experienced quarterback, a defense that I think had taken some steps back, but now is getting healthier. I mean, the Vikings, they won a lot of one-score games last year. Everybody knows that stat. That won't hold, but they're still a very, very difficult team to beat up there. I think there's Bucs are 6.5, 7-point underdogs in this game.
Yeah,
which is
that's
probably
fair.
where it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you can try to win most of the, they're not good enough, in my opinion, to win every other game I just said. They're going to have a stumble, but if they can steal a victory, and they have 4 games that I've circled that are the the games where we're absolutely not favoring them at all. And that's Minnesota, Philly, Buffalo, San Francisco. And it's actually 5 because Jacksonville has now put themselves in that conversation. You got 5 games right there against 5 of the better teams in the league. If you can steal one of those, that to me, and then take care of business with most of the rest, I think that's good enough. If you can steal one of those games.
No, I agree with you. And, for me, it's how does Todd Bowles manage these games? How is his accountability record this year? Last year was just so dysfunctional on so many levels. I want to give him a clean slate and see what he can do this year. There's some talent here. There's no question about it. This defense, I think, can be really, really good. No, it's not 2002 defense. No, they don't have 4 Hall of Famers on this defense. No, but they got some really good players. I mean, if Jamel Dean goes on the open market, he's the number 1 corner. Okay. So you got a guy that is believed in NFL circles as, a top flight corner. Same thing with Carlton Davis. Same thing with you got 2 corners that can flat out cover. And you can do a lot of different things with that. I think the safety position, I think they're going to be sneaky good. I mean, Antoine Winfield is considered one of the better safeties in this league and is still growing and moving back to his natural position. And Ryan Neal has just been maybe the story of camp in this offseason, what a find this guy is. So, if Devin White comes to play and plays within himself and plays like he did at the beginning of last year where he wasn't overrunning plays, and then it's, as the year went on, it seemed that, he got more selfish, maybe looking at making big plays to get contract, whatever. He's got to play within himself, and they got to stay healthy. And
let's be honest, though. The real key to this defense, and if they're going to go anywhere, is the pass rush.
Yeah, absolutely.
It all comes down to the pass rush, which last year was horrendous. And I think it's fair to say, other than the right side of the offensive line, that might be your second biggest concern, if not your biggest concern, is the pass rush. I mean, Vita Vea was leading this team in sacks a year ago. Vita Vea. I don't want that from my 350-pound nose tackle. I just don't.
No, I want him to get 6. He had 6.5 last year. Let's get that up to 8.
Yeah, but I don't want him to lead the team because that tells me everything I need to know about the other guys that are, pass rush specialists and are out there more. But Shaq Barrett, again, giving him a pass for this season because of the Achilles injuries and all the other stuff in the personal life.
I'm not.
You're not giving
the personal life. No, I mean not from the Achilles. And I think, the personal stuff from what I heard from Shaq, I think it's going to be. That's going to, I'm going to say help him, but I think football is really helping him cope with that.
It could. I
think he's going to be.
I'll focus more on the Achilles part of it because I'm just going off the fact that he
looks good.
He looks good. I know. He's not young anymore. And Achilles injuries, the way those things go, it's usually the year after that you return to your usual form. And what's Shaq Barrett's the big plus in his game? It's the get off. And I'm hoping that explosiveness off the ball is still going to be there. But again, as we've been saying, JTS has got to step up. If JTS is the same player that he's been the last 2 years, it's just not good enough. As I see Tally, she just made a nice little cameo there.
Yeah, she slid right in there. I saw that. Yeah,
I love that. We haven't seen her in a long time.
She's got a great little space here on the couch. Yeah, she loves it. You good, girl? You good? You want to say hello to everybody? No, she's like, no, I'm chilling. I'm chilling. Yeah, and that's what makes this season, I think, so fun because I really do. I mean, you can make a case for a 3-win team. You can make a case for an 11-win team.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, you just don't know. And I don't think there's a lot of teams in the league like that right now, to be honest with you. So it's a crapshoot. Got to stay healthy. Kalijah Cansey needs to be a big factor. And I think that injury has put him behind. That's not good. All right, we'll catch up with Gary Koch another day. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you want to know more about NIL and how it works. Jake Norris is a local guy in St. Petersburg working with Trayshawn Ward and a couple other bigger names in college football. And in light of the Johnny Manziel doc that's up on Netflix that is #1 in the nation, you want to know what NIL is all about? That was NIL before it was NIL. So we'll talk to Jake about what's going on right now in college football when we come back. Stay with us.
guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. So do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Mod. Eight 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. EPI, you've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show as we roll through here on this very busy Thursday. We talked a lot of college football. And Nick, you can bring me up to speed on our guest. Is he on the line, or are we getting him in the stream?
Yeah, we got him here on the line. Jake Norris cool. Joining us.
What's up, Jake? How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. So Jake Norris is an NIL agent from No Offseason Sports. Watch some of the podcasts you've been doing. I believe you have Trayshawn Ward, former Florida State guy, local guy here, as one of your NIL guys. Tell me a little bit about your business and how things are going.
Yeah, appreciate the time today, JP. And once again, Jake Norris here with No Offseason Sports. We're a sports marketing agency down here in St. Petersburg, Florida. We originally, started off with a lot of Florida State athletes. I actually was a Florida State graduate, so was my wife. And so we've spent a lot of our time in our professional life really working on the sports marketing and business aspects, and thought that, we could take what we were doing in our professional careers and translate it over to what athletes are doing in the NIL space now. So had a lot of ties with Florida State athletes. So was lucky enough to sign a player like Trayshawn Ward, who, went on to have a great season last year. It is now going to be at Kansas State tearing it up. Working with about 11 players at the moment, and recently just started with some guys at USF as well. So really excited for what we're doing in this space.
Any other names we would know that you're working with now?
Yeah, I was actually just listening to Pat Burnham on here talk a little bit about Kyle Morlock. That's one guy that I'm really excited about. Tight end at Florida State that just came over from Shorter University last year, was a top 5 tight end in the transfer portal, but got a lot of different guys that I'm really excited about on Florida State football. Kevin Knowles, defensive back, really playing a lot of nickel last year, but he'll probably get a lot of looks at safety with just some of that stuff that you guys were talking about earlier in the backfield.
Yep. What about the USF guys?
USF right now, I'm working with Kendall Dennis. He's a transfer cornerback from Oklahoma last year. Went to Lakeland High School, kind of similar to the Trayshawn situation, local guy. Really excited for him. They're kind of needs some help in the defensive backfield for sure this year. So I think he's going to be a great fit. Really athletic, corner, long arms, big hands, can really play the game.
Awesome. So, Jake, tell us a little bit about the process now. So you go out, you build some relationships with these guys, you sign them. What do these agreements look like? I mean, this is such a wild, wild west. I don't know a whole lot about the logistics of how this is working. So kind of take us through what's going on now on campus.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I look at really the value of a player when it comes to NIL in two different aspects. The first one is their marketing value. The second one is their roster value. So marketing value really comes down to traditional, what we had expected from what the name, image, and likeness ruling came about. So that's really more of your social media marketing deals, the appearances, the autograph signing. That's really more of the marketing side. And players really get value from a marketing perspective, generally speaking, off of really could be two aspects of it. One, I look at their social media following. How many followers do they have on things like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, you name it? How do their fans engage with them on those platforms? And that's why brands really want to do those advertisements with them. Those deals can really, a lot of times we'll see a lot of just one post deals, but we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of players at Florida State that have a lot of good marketing value and have been able to grow their marketing value to be able to get longer term deals, meaning that, these could last 6 to 8 months with multiple posts, a mix of appearances and posts, branded content where they'll send videographers and photographers professionally to come out and shoot the players, you name it. But I think what people really think about, and we're talking a lot about this with things like conference realignment and coaches changing, but roster value. And to me, what that really means is, what does that player mean to the roster? So if you think about Florida State, right, we got a team that just won 10 games last year, talking about national championship and college football playoff aspirations. There's a lot of guys on that team that have a lot of roster value. You think about players like Jared Verse, Jordan Travis, Fabian Lovett, and a lot of these transfer guys too that they're bringing in. So that really comes down to what does that player mean to that team? And those deals are really given by entities called NIL collectives. And a collective really is just a group of alumni, boosters, fans that either want to donate or contribute funds, whether through a subscription model or through just a large donation like what you see through the booster model, to really pay out in contract to players. And those collectives structure those deals based off of a couple of different aspects. Some of the stuff that we talked about previously with the marketing value and social media following, so on and so forth, but also going back to what do they mean to the team, right? Is this a guy that we could lose? You could think about players that are eligible for the NFL draft, that are going to be surefire starters on the team, and they need to have them to make that national championship or college football playoff run. Those guys have a ton of rosters. So just to kind of sum it up, there's really those two parts. Both of them have a huge impact onto a player's total valuation, but they could really, solely be rooted in one of the two aspects, that being marketing value and roster value.
And you just mentioned the NIL collective part of that. I was going to come to that. Do you have to coordinate with the universities itself if you want to represent a player, or do these guys and you have sort of free reign to kind of make these deals?
Man, that's a really good question, actually. And the answer is that it depends on what school and what state you work with. So to kind of break that down, when NIL started, each state started its own ruling. And that was because of the Alston versus NCAA Supreme Court ruling that kind of broke this whole thing open in 2021. But each state after that ruling was able to say, hey, we want our players to be compensated. Let's start our own law. Each one of those states' laws has different stipulations to it. Some of them might force the school to do some sort of compliance regulations where they want to vet agents out. So for schools like Florida State, I work with their compliance department to register with the school in the sense that they understand who I'm working with and what those agreements look like. Right. I think that's more of a protection for the athletes to make sure that they, aren't working with someone that's untrustworthy. But when it comes to actual facilitations of deals, most of these state laws say that schools themselves, the officers, the employees, the coaching staff, you name it, anybody that's really affiliated with the school can't directly provide an NIL deal. And that's like a physical contract. And that's why these entities that are these NIL collectives that started popping up, because they become representatives, very similar to what a booster structure looks like. They become representatives for the school to do deals with players and distribute those funds that they get that are what we call roster value for the players.
So in essence, you're having big time boosters give $2, $3, $4, $5 million into these collectives, and then those collectives themselves then dole out the money. Does there have to be some type of business transaction? Do these players have to sign autographs? Do they have to do appearances on TV or podcasts? Is there any part of that, or they just collect the money from the collective and that's cool?
Yeah, I wish it was that way. I think that's what a lot of people think when they hear about NIL, but in all reality, there has to be what's called quid pro quo, which is just some sort of exchange of value between the two parties. So if a collective wants to offer a contract to a player, the player has to exchange some sort of value. So to your point, generally that'll be structured through appearances, through autographs that the collective can then go and repurpose for different ways to raise funds for the collective. And then a lot of them, and this is a big topic right now that we're seeing a lot with the IRS putting out a memo pretty recently going out to collectives saying that they might not be able to secure the 501c3 nonprofit status, but charitable events has been the big one over the last 2 years. In Tallahassee, I know for sure they've been working with the Boys and Girls Club, and a couple of different schools in the area. But for those entities that are labeled 501c3, which probably more than half of the collectives are, charitable efforts or charitable appearances has been the main driver of the deliverables or that exchange of value, so that the collectives can keep that nonprofit status. So that when donors go to donate to that they'll get some sort of tax benefit for it.
All right, so we're hearing crazy numbers being thrown around. What's real? What is Jared Verse getting? What is Jordan Travis making? What do you know?
Oh man, I gotta protect my business relationship.
Okay, all right. I totally get that. Totally get that.
No, I'll give you this. When I talk to players and I talk to them about their value, specifically roster value, I always try to give them a perspective of, what is the cap? Meaning, what is the salary cap for that team, or what is that team raised in funds for the year for that specific sport? And then what is the top player on the team getting paid? And then what is the average? So they know where they fall within that to understand, hey, am I being valued appropriately for my contributions to the team? So let me put it into perspective for you for this. I don't know the exact numbers, but back in February, a lot of the collective met, and there's actually a trade association of multiple big school collectives. I want to say like Tennessee, Georgia, Florida State, Clemson, Ohio State. There's probably 8 to 10 schools that are part of it. But a big thing that they talked about was the sustainability of these, donor models where, boosters and alumni are donating.
Right.
And right now, where that's fallen out for these Power 5 schools, you're seeing for Power 5 football, generally around like 3 to 4 million for this last year. I'd say the middle of the pack teams are probably going to need to raise around 5 million total for a football team. You got to think of the 85 scholarship players, only 44, generally speaking, are going to get paid. And then you've got 5 or 10 guys at the top that are those outliers that are the deals that you're talking about, where people are like, hey, are they really getting paid that amount of money? That seems asinine. But I'll tell you this, Florida State this year, I want to say their cap was probably around 4 million. I think next year, based off of what I'm hearing, Florida State, Ohio State, Clemson, Tennessee, and Georgia are thinking that they'll need to get around 8 to 10 million. I know Ryan Day has come out and said that, to his boosters, that they need 12 million to be able to compete in this space. And it's absolutely true. But I will give you this one caveat is that, you asked about Jared Verse and these players like Jordan Travis and that stuff. I think one thing that's come out that's being really good about this is that, when we talk about these high school players getting paid to go to the next level, there's a lot of nonsense there. Yeah. A lot of these players do not get paid nearly the amount that they're putting out there, not even anywhere close to 6 figures, unless you're one of the top 35 players in the country, meaning you're that true 5-star at the end of the year. Yeah. I know Pat Burnham was just talking about KJ Bolden, that type of player, Landon Thomas. Some of these guys at the top of Florida State's recruiting board, they might have to be a little bit more incentivized to come to a school like that. But for everybody else that's kind of middle of the pack in their recruiting class, they're going to be great players down the road, but they're not making hundreds of $1,000s or the $1 million that people are talking about.
That's really interesting, Jake. I got so many more questions for you. Let's get you on another time. We're kind of up against it here today because I really want to get into some of the other stuff. Very knowledgeable stuff. How can folks find you on Twitter and social media?
No, I really appreciate it, JP. Would love to come back on and talk. But if anyone wants to check us out, we're nooffseasonfl.com, at nooffseasonfl on all socials. So come check us out.
Great stuff, Jake. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We'll be in touch. Thanks.
Appreciate you, JP. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Thank you.
Go Knowles. Wow, this has been a very interesting show. So $4 million cap this year. That shocks me. I thought FSU would be up around $10 million with all the players they've had to retain,
right,
and the talent that they have on this team. That shocks me.
Well, it sounds like that's where it's going.
That's where it's going for sure.
And keep into account
might already be there.
And keep in account everything we heard was that FSU was really behind in this process when
Right.
this first started 2 years ago. So they're having to make up ground. But yeah, that was great. I'm going to get Jake back on next week because I feel like we had so much more avenues we could definitely go down this route.
100%. I want to find out more about what's going on at USF and how they compete vis-a-vis some of these other schools. So, all right, great show today. Our thanks to Pat Burnham from the Osceola. Check out their podcast and all their content. Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. We'll get Gary Koch on another time. Missed him today, but good stuff here. Great job, Nick. Rays and Cardinals tonight. They're back at it. See who wins the series. And we got preseason football tonight, too, as well. And the Bucs will be playing tomorrow night. We'll come back tomorrow and set up that game with the Steelers for you as well. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.